Hello everyone, I'm FARMERSIM and welcome back to Riverbend Springs. I hope you're all doing very well and having a wonderful day. It's been a couple of weeks since we've made an episode down here on Riverbend, so I'm really excited to get back on here and get cracking. Now today, this episode is primarily at the minute going to be mainly focusing on the grass. And speaking of the grass, just look at it. After making the amendments that I made during the making of one of the last episodes of Palanier, making the amendments to the grass.xml file just to increase the density and the look of it, and it just looks incredible, don't you think? It's a much more uniform, dense, healthy looking field of grass now instead of being a bit patchy. And it is now at its last and final growth stage. I almost made the mistake of starting this episode back in May, because as you can see, we're in June now. I have jumped forward from May to June, primarily just to get this grass up to its final growth stage, because I almost made the mistake of jumping in, even though the map PDA said that the grass was ready to harvest. It was looking at the cow pasture. It kind of looked like this. There was a shorter grass and a longer grass because of the cows taking from it as they eat in the meadow grass part of the cow pasture. It just made me realise, hang on a minute, no, this field isn't fully grown, is it? It was only at its kind of first or second growth stage. So sure enough, and I checking in the info box as well now, if we go to the info box here, as you can see, it actually gives me a potential harvest quantity, whereas previously in May it looked like this. It didn't have the potential harvest quantity numbers in there. So sure enough, jumping into June now, we can see we've got a potential harvest quantity. Now this is field 65. This particular field I'm stood in is made up of two fields. We've got field 65 and I think it's field 66 as well. Field 65 has got a potential quantity of just over 282,000 litres. Field 66 has got a potential harvest quantity of just under 50,000, 49,630 to be precise. So out of this field alone, we stand to get roughly, give or take a bit, about 332,000 litres. Now this field we're going to mow, and we need to run the tedder over it and turn it into hay. The TMR mixer over there has got silage and straw in it, but it hasn't got a single bit of hay at all, so we need to get that loaded up. And this field is going to be what we're going to be using for that. We've got another 3 fields of grass to harvest. We've got the little one over there, just about roughly where that bus is at the minute. That one's going to give us roughly, again, using the harvest quantity yield numbers that we get from the info box, that's going to give us just over 90,000 litres. And we've got 2 fields over there, just behind the trees there, that are going to give us roughly about 146,000 litres and another 86,000 litres as well. So essentially, we're going to get about 330,000 litres of hay, roughly, again, out of this field. And collectively, across the other 3 fields, we're going to get about 323,000 litres of grass, which is brilliant. Now we're going to be throwing all of that grass into the bunker in the distance there and get that fermenting away, get it turned into silage, and potentially earn and stick it into the biogas plant eventually and get that earning for us. Now, as you can see from the earnings, we're now at $175,000 or just over. Previously in May, we were at about 142,000 litres. So we've actually, on top of when we take away our earnings, our expenditure, sorry, from, you know, the biogas plant expenditures and all the bits and bobs, we've brought in just under $33,000, which is absolutely brilliant, and that is primarily down to the income that we get from the biogas plant when we factor in the electricity and the methane. Now, another little factor that had slipped my mind was the functioning of this biogas plant that I've got on the farm now. When I had it in FARMERSIM 22, you quite simply loaded it up and you earned money on an hourly basis from the electricity and the methane that generates, and if you set it to automatically sell, that's what you'd get. But in this one, you have to individually set the electricity and methane and digestate if you wanted to store or to sell, and I hadn't done that. So when I fast forwarded time initially and jumped into June, there was no extra earnings, and in fact our account balance was much less, and it confused me a bit, because I was thinking, well, where's my income from the biogas plant? But sure enough, if I go into the production systems menu and show you here, this is just to show you what I'm talking about, it's at the bottom here. You have to individually set the electricity and the methane to sell or to store, and then activate it individually, and that's what I hadn't done, and it was that factor that I kind of slipped my mind. So as you can see, we've burnt through all the slurry and the silage that we did have in the biogas plant after the last episode. We've still got digestate building up, of course, but we've now got no electricity or methane, nothing in here whatsoever, because we've used it all and we've earned from it all. But when, like I said, we're now sat at $175,000, which is absolutely brilliant. But first, before we do crack on with the grasswork, we'll be jumping in the big Fendt there and hooking up the front and rear mowers and getting to work in the fields. But before we do that, we're just going to make a quick trip over to the cow barn, and we're going to shift the manure and the slurry out of there into the biogas plant and get that turned on and get a few dollars into the bank over the next few hours and get that income ramping up again, because that's going to really help towards paying off the loan, because we're now at I think the loan in total I've got like $3 million, hadn't I, a good while ago. Get that gate open, there we go, thank you. And we're now down to 2.8 million. So yeah, not doing too bad. I know I did pay a big chunk of that off. I think I paid about $100,000 off with money that I had left over after the loan, but still, there we go. Right, lovely stuff. Yep, we want to load up with our first tanker of slurry, thank you very much. We'll get this taken over to the BGA. There we go, 18,000 litres, so we're going to have a couple of trips of this to do, back and two, but it's got to be done. But I am really looking, I'm excited to be back down here on Riverbend. Like I say, it's been a couple of weeks since we've done anything on here. The animals are doing fine, of course. The sheep and the cows, very, very happy. I know I reset the sheep, didn't I? Was it the last episode, I think it was, where I finally, thanks to mods, been able to sort out the fence line that I'd initially wanted to do on there. So obviously the sheep have technically been reset, but they're doing pretty well already. They've started producing some wool for us, only a little bit of course, but it's producing nonetheless. Right, so if I remember correctly, the trigger point for this was a bit tricky last time. I had to kind of reverse up, and it's really quite tricky to get the tip trigger to come on here for some reason. I'm still struggling to do it now. Okay. But it did just seem to only appear... Oh, there we go. Got it. It's quite an awkward angle, isn't it? But it works. But yeah, it just doesn't take it straight away, unfortunately. But we got there in the end. Right, so leave this lot with me. Like I say, I've got a couple of trips to do with the slurry tanker, and then we'll hitch up the trail and just get the manure picked up out the bunker there. Get it all loaded in, and then we can crack on with a bit of grass work. Right, that's the last of the manure. 3,951 litres to be precise. Get it over to the biogas plant and have activated it, so hopefully over the next few hours we should see a little bit of income coming in from that. Now again, focusing on the income, we've also got, at the minute, it's worth just over $20,000 worth of milk in the cow barn. They have been producing milk for us over the last few months, of course, with their health being at 100%, productivity levels being exactly what they need to be. So I think it's about time, before we do crack on with the grass work, that we make our first trip to the dairy. Haven't been over there yet in this series, so I think it's about time we do. So that's exactly what we're going to do. Let me just get this thing reversed out of here. There we are. I think for now I shall just abandon this trailer just on the right here after the shed. That'll do. I'll tidy that up in a bit. That there. It's as good a place as any. So yeah, I'm going to go and pick up the milk tanker and get this lot taken over to the dairy. So, $20,494 have now been deposited into the bank thanks to the sale of that milk, which I'm very, very happy with. Now, trying to maintain even the slightest element of realism, I suppose. Selling milk is always something I've done pretty much relatively straight away. The game tells us that we get best price for the milk in October, but obviously, in reality, you wouldn't hold on to milk for 4 or 5 months, would you now, to try and then try and sell it because... hello, what was that? Oh, sorry, mate. Cutting you up there. Yeah, you wouldn't hold on to milk for 4 or 5 months, would you now? You'd have great difficulty in trying to convince someone to part with their cash to buy that, wouldn't you? So, yeah, I always do try and sell it relatively sharpish. So, either way, it's all good. Done. Our first trip to the dairy. There he is, angry driver after being cut up. Don't blame him. So, yeah, right. Anyway, back to the farm. As you can see now as well, the bank account is now sat at $196,119. So that's pretty good. And then if we factor in the manure and the slurry that we just tipped into the BGA earlier, hopefully in the next few hours of this in-game day, we might see $200,000 as a bank balance. That'd be pretty good, wouldn't it? So see what happens there. So anyway, back to the farm. We'll pop this milk tanker back where it lives for now, in the little yard next to the cow barn. Stop sign. There we are. And yeah, we'll jump in the big fence. We'll hook up the 2 mowers. We'll get cracking on with a bit of grass work. Now, I think what I might do, because if I'm going to hitch up the mowers to the big fence, I think in my mind anyway, the weather's half decent for today, so I think it would make sense to get all the mowing done in one go, field after field, and then we'll run the various bits of equipment after that we need to. We'll run the tedder in this field and the windrower in the... oh no, sorry, we won't need to run the windrower, sorry, easy for me to say, because the mower does have the rowing function, doesn't it? But we'll be turning that off for the first one anyway. There we go. Let's get that dropped off. There we go. So let's get out of here. Close these gates again. Make sure the cows can't escape. There we go. Right. So, like I say, we'll jump in the big fence now. I'll go and hook up the mowers. I'll catch you in a moment. Right, spot of careful manoeuvring now. Big tractor, reasonable sized mower setup, small shed, so do need to be relatively careful, but let's just position ourselves just right. Coming out of a door on an angle like this isn't always the best option. Oh, made it, goodness me. Even surprised myself, ladies and gentlemen. Right. There we go. Lovely stuff. Right, so to the field. I'm going to start in this one, obviously. I need to make sure I just bring up the F1 menu, because we'll get that unfolded, because you can only change the work mode when it's unfolded, but we're set to what we're set to at the minute. Swath dropping, so we want a wide spread for this one. Because obviously we're going to be running the tedder in here, so there's no point running it into windrows and then running the tedder after that, because it'll just spread it back out again. So, let's get to it. Job done. Very happy with that. It does look so much better watching the mower carve its way through that neat, thick, dense carpet of grass now, though, don't you think, ladies and gentlemen? It just looks so much better, in my opinion, of course. But yeah, it's I'm really happy that I have made these amendments to the grass.xml. Now, interestingly, if any of you didn't catch my my episode back on Palani, or Palanier, sorry. It's going to get difficult to get used to pronouncing that correctly. Yeah, my last episode back on Palanier, when I discussed briefly the grass.xml. If any of you are on PC and you're not really of the mindset of digging into the XML files and amending things, by all means, hop on over to my Discord, and in the mod update section, Woodshop did very kindly copy and paste his grass XML file into there, so for any of you who do want it, you can just go grab it and stick it in your game directory and essentially get it done for you. It's well worth it, in my opinion. Honestly, it really is. It makes a world of difference. It is visual, of course. You don't get any yield improvements, you don't gain anything from it. It's just how it makes it look. It just makes it look denser and more healthier, and just generally much better, if you ask me. So right, I need the tedder. That's the first job. The next job we're going to get done, we're going to concentrate on this big grass field here next to us and get the hay sorted out, because I am very keen to see how close the yield numbers were in the field information box in the bottom right hand corner. I am aware that it may not actually be the numbers that it said it was going to get, because I hadn't actually factored in that part of this actual field is now kind of spoken for within the confines of the cow pasture. So the numbers that we were getting here, what was it? Let me consult my list. It was north of 300,000 litres anyway, when we factor in this field and the other field that's part of it over at the other end, field 66. But like I say, I hadn't factored in that it could be counting what is currently in the cow pasture there. So we'll see. So if it's significantly less than the 300 and something thousand litres as it said we might get, then that's definitely the answer. But either way, it's got to be done. We need to get this tedded. It does look very bare, doesn't it, around here? I didn't run the wind. I didn't run it with the windrower set up in here. I ran it with the wide spreading function on. In fact, just bear with me 2 seconds. I'm going to jump into flight mode and just have a look from above, because oh no, it is there. It's just very difficult to see now. Again, because of the density of the grass, it just made it difficult to see. I suppose like, you can see what I was looking at there. You just stand here and you think, you'd be forgiven for thinking that there's not a lot of grass there. But when you kind of have a look at it from above, it is there. It's just that front, this swath here is dropped by the front mower, isn't it? And the rest of it, that the wide spreading function is kind of just loosely spread across the field. Anyway, right, so enough of my waffle again. Let's get cracking on with this. We're going to get this tedded up, rowed up, picked up, and popped into the TMR mixer. The TMR mixer has got absolutely zero hay in it whatsoever, so whatever we get in there when this field is done, that will be obviously the number that we'll be referring to when it comes to what we get off this field. So, much like before, let's get cracking. All done and picked up. There we go. Stuffed into the TMR mixer here. Now what we got, as you can see from the numbers there, considerably less than what I was expecting, but it is what it is. We've got 188,752 litres. It is ticking down now because I have activated the TMR side of it. So it's churning away, getting us some cow feed mixed up. But yeah, I think, like I mentioned at the beginning of that before, there's a strong possibility that the missing, in inverted commas, 140 odd thousand litres that we were potentially accounting for is spoken for within the pasture of this field, because it is this is part of what that field was essentially, so it kind of makes sense. But the main thing is we've got a good chunk of it in here. It's now turned on and producing total mixed ration, so that's all good. And also, as you can see, now that an hour or so has passed over, we're now at the bank balance has just crossed over the 200k mark, so $204,894. Brilliant. Very happy with that as well. So I think for today's episode, ladies and gentlemen, I'm going to call it here. Next episode, of course, we've still got the grass that's in its rode up state in those 3 fields over there, so we need to get that picked up with the forage wagon here and put into the bunker, get it covered over, compacted, and get that turning into a bit more silage as well. We might potentially be able to earn from that, get it thrown into the biogas plant, ramp up that bank balance yet again. But like I said, yeah, for now, I am going to call it here, ladies and gentlemen. So thank you very much for watching. I really do hope you have enjoyed the video and found it a little bit of fun. As always, if you're new to the channel and you like my content, you like the way I'm doing things, please consider hitting that subscribe button and jumping on board, joining the channel. Please consider giving the video a like if you can. It does do wonders. It helps the YouTube algorithm do its thing. And as always, there are a host of links in the video description below with my Giants Partner promo code. If any of you are in the market for purchasing Farming Simulator 25 and you like the idea of supporting the channel and helping out a creator, as always, I would be massively appreciative. And of course, if any of you are in the market also for an online server and you like the idea of a 10% reduction in the cost of that server and also supporting the channel and helping out a creator, please consider using my G-Portal affiliate link, which again will be in the video description below. Any help and support there would be massively appreciated. So thanks again for your time, everybody. Take care, and I'll see you in the next one.